the woman who taught science to listen. In 1871, Chicago burned to the ground. 14-year-old Ida Henrietta Hyde stood in the ashes of her family's home. Everything was gone. Her house, her father's business, their entire livelihood. There was no safety net. And in that moment, Ida made a decision that would define the rest of her life. She would not wait to be rescued. While her younger siblings went to school, Ida became a milliner's apprentice. She stitched hats for 12 hours a day. Not for fashion, for survival. Her wages helped keep her family fed. She even paid for her brother's university education. There was no money for clothes, so Ida sewed her own from scraps. And every night, when the house was finally quiet, she read. One borrowed book changed everything. It was written by the great scientist Alexander von Humboldt. The book described the natural world with wonder and curiosity, and it ignited something powerful inside her. At 24 years old, Ida finally saved enough money to attend the University of Illinois, but she could only afford 1 year. When the money ran out, she returned to Chicago and became a public school teacher. For 7 years, she taught students during the day and studied science alone at night. She passed exams, developed new teaching ideas, and slowly built the foundation of a scientific career. Then, at age 31, when society expected women to settle down and disappear into domestic life, Ida Hyde started over. She enrolled at Cornell University, earned her degree in just 3 years, then continued graduate studies at Bryn Mawr College. She worked alongside brilliant scientists, but the real challenge came when she traveled to Germany. At the time, German universities did not believe women belonged in science. At the University of Heidelberg, doors were literally closed in her face. She was banned from lectures. Laboratories were locked. Professors refused to teach her. But Ida refused to quit. Male colleagues secretly shared their lecture notes. She studied in borrowed spaces. She worked twice as hard as everyone else. And in 1896, Ida Henrietta Hyde became the first woman ever to earn a science doctorate from Heidelberg University. After Heidelberg, Ida continued her research across Europe. Then she arrived at Harvard Medical School. There, she became the first woman ever permitted to conduct scientific research. And she began asking a question that most scientists had ignored. How do you study a living cell without destroying it? At the time, the tools scientists used were crude. If they wanted to study electrical activity inside a cell, the process often damaged or killed the cell itself. But Ida believed there had to be another way. So she began designing a new scientific instrument, a tiny glass tube, only 12 centimeters long, drawn to a microscopic tip. Inside, it contained mercury, or an electrolyte solution. This instrument became known as a micropipette electrode. It could stimulate a single living cell with electricity, measure its response, and even inject or remove tiny amounts of fluid, all while keeping the cell alive. For the first time, scientists could observe life without destroying it. Ida published her research in 1921, but the scientific world barely noticed. 2 decades later, other researchers independently developed similar technology. Their work received international recognition. One scientist was even nominated for a Nobel Prize. But Ida Hyde's name was forgotten. Yet the principles she pioneered became foundational to modern science. Neuroscience, cardiac research, cellular biology. Every time scientists study neurons firing in the brain, they rely on technology descended from Ida Hyde's invention. Ida Hyde understood how difficult the scientific world could be for women, so she made sure others would not face the same barriers alone. She created scholarships for women pursuing science. She founded the Naples Table Association, which funded research opportunities for women scientists. Dozens of women benefited from the programs she started. At the University of Kansas, she built and led the Department of Physiology for 22 years. She fought for equal access to laboratories and education. She refused to let doors remain closed. Even after retiring at age 63, Ida Hyde did not slow down. She traveled the world studying women's education. She mentored young scientists, She continued writing and researching from her home in California. On August 22, 1945, Ida Henrietta Hyde passed away at the age of 88. But her influence never disappeared. Today, scientists use advanced microelectrodes to study the brain, the heart, and the deepest mysteries of life. The technology is more advanced, but the idea remains the same. Observe life without destroying it. That was Ida Hyde's philosophy. She opened doors that had never been opened. She built pathways where none existed. And every scientist who studies living cells today walks a road she helped create. Ida Henrietta Hyde did not just push boundaries. She redrew the map. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who believes science is not for them. Because sometimes the people history forgets are the ones who changed everything. Follow us for more stories of the women who changed science and the world.